to the Bridget Mabandla College here in the city of Tshwane, and of course day 41 of the Madlanga Commission, and it's been such an interesting week already, and it's about to get even more interesting with one of the chief protagonists, of course, and this is Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, whose name has come up severally here at the Commission in evidence led by those from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. He's to take the stand today in what promises to be quite an interesting session. I'm joined now by Professor Kholofelo Rakubu. She's the head of the Department of Law, Safety and Security Management at the Tshwane University of Technology. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor Rakubu. And, just looking at yesterday's testimony, if I could just ask you first and foremost, based on that testimony, what aspects of the witness evidence, both witnesses yesterday, would you say did you find most consequential as it pertains to the mandate of the Commission?
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers. An interesting day it was. The two witnesses, I will start with my lady. It was an interesting one, a questionable witness, if I were to say so, difficult to lead. But in most cases, she then confirmed certain irregularities. She then confirmed incapability, and also she tried to, but failed to justify inaction. She also utilized a particular strategy, which is selective disclosure or selective narrative to push a particular agenda, and she came prepared to also taint credibility of a particular witness, particularly former Chief of Police Mabiyeye. But she was difficult to lead. Then came Mchunu as well, who then came with a particular bureaucratic narrative to justify administrative decision. She laid a particular foundation that a particular meeting was held, right? Because she comes in with an understanding that a lot was said here, which contradicted his initial testimony at the ad hoc committee. Remember, at the ad hoc committee, she did not know Brown Mokgotsi to that extent. There was never this kind of meetings that were then identified here. He has never even called Mokgotsi. But then this commission, wherein he comes in, he understands that the commission has verified multiple calls from the minister to Mchunu. Then he comes into this commission, which then the CFO laid a particular foundation that I was never consulted. But remember, in the committee, Mchunu highlighted that, no, I utilized a particular financial report. Yesterday, again, the second witness was very strategic not to boldly mention report by Professor De Haas, because in the committee, he was boldly saying, I was advised, I received a letter, Professor De Haas did this and that. But then he came with a different strategy now to zoom into someone who's internal within the SAPS and a 2019 feasibility study to justify that there should have been a disbandment to push a narrative that this disbandment was well informed, this disbandment was well decided, because I had a meeting with Masemola, a discussion with Masemola, wherein this was termed a project, right? A temporary project. PKTT at some point was mentioned as a project. That is why then to justify the immediate disbandment. But I don't think their credibility, all of them, the witnesses, were very evasive. They gave an evasive and a divertive testimony, if I were to say so. They were not forthcoming, but largely the centerpiece was Our Lady with the attitude, difficult to lead, and so forth. But largely, she then agreed to not implementing IPID or understanding IPID report. For lack of better words, I will not say understanding, selective decision when it comes to, and she also conceded to failing to discipline Julius Mkhwanazi, for example. So then her credibility, her difficult to narrate, her difficult to justify, left South Africa wondering what does it take for one to become a city manager? What qualities? Because some even went for a PhD, for example, because that did not talk to the skill, the demeanor of the witness that is called a doctor, the way she was difficult to lead, the way she was difficult to even follow her own testimony. Yeah.
So one of the things that also, stood out there was, of course, the fact that the former city manager, who is now retired, Dr. Imogen Mashazi, seemed to have some difficulty in understanding that ultimately the buck stops with her as far as accountability goes. And, with regard to that, where does that leave the commission in terms of some of the evidence that was, of course, adduced here regarding ambiguity, some contradictions that we heard? Do they probe further? And how do they go about probing further if they do?
They will have to probe further because remember, some of the statements here do not have substantive evidence, supporting document. They were just hearsays. And she deflected a lot to say, no, although you suggest it was my responsibility, it wasn't, they were so junior to me, I couldn't. Then the commission can now recommend, provide actionable recommendation with regard to that, because it is evident that reports, IPID report was ignored, right? And she conceded. Then they can then come up straight. They don't even need to go for any further. I think they got all what they want from a city manager who said, no, it wasn't my responsibility. And interestingly, a city manager that comes to say, upon hearing of sexual violence or harassment or rape, I then came up with a program. That does not make sense. Why do you have to come up with a program? Why don't you know other processes to assist sexual harassment or rape victims? What is it that the program is going to do? Because that program talks to their promotion. Are they supposed to be raped, then be promoted? What else did you do? So largely, it looks like there were so many issues of she did not do anything for the city. If now you come in and mention issues wherein you did not even act on those to say, and again the rape issue, it's very worrisome, because how do you then utilize such as a strategy to taint somebody's image? We also wonder whether the rape happened indeed.
And that was something that the commission was very clear through the evidence leader, Advocate Silo, that the commission was not really set up to look into those particular matters, and the commission had no will, so to speak, to have a secondary victimization process play out for the victims. But all that being said, the issue of the systemic weaknesses within the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department and the city as a whole could be called into question. But also, as far as the second witness is concerned, Minister Mchunu, who's on special leave, the systemic weaknesses that have allowed for the sort of infiltration that the commission is probing.
Yeah, we're learning of the deep-rooted systemic issues, corruption, infiltration, and so forth. Then the commission there will have to be direct when it comes to a systemic reform. What kind of reform will be required to clean up the system, to protect whistleblowers, to just realign the system, because it's so infiltrated to the core. You don't even know where to start, because some of the so-called witnesses might also be the one leading cartels. So it has a very mammoth task to ensure that as it assists with recommendations around systemic reform, they do a thorough job. They do thorough analysis to assist South Africa understand the magnitude of this political infiltration and systemic corruption. To what extent is the system weakened? Where do we start and where do we even end? Because we can't pick one point and leave the rest, because we'll still be having issues. And we do have persistent issues in the SAPS. For quite some time, there has been corruption, mention of corruption here and there. So today you can't take out one person and think that will be assisting with systemic reform. There's a lot that will have to be amended.
And with regard to public accountability, that, of course, for the broader public is hugely important and significant. So from what we've heard, and I think I remember asking this question a few weeks ago as well, everything that is unfolding, the public demands accountability for. And how do we go about doing that, giving effect to accountability?
Remember, the public also is interested in this commission to have a breakthrough other than other commissions. Remember, public is worried that other commissions had massive, beautiful report but lack of implementation or prosecution. With this one, the public will be interested in seeing someone in jail, in seeing a particular conviction. And that can be done through thorough reporting and transparency, because as much as we are here bringing all South Africans into the Madlanga Commission, the very same way it should be done that South Africans get to know what happened to Mkhwanazi, for example, if she's found guilty or found wanting. What will happen to Senzo Mchunu? The South Africans and the voters are interested. The upcoming local government elections are coming up. What are concerned parties doing when it comes to that? The minute there are these allegations on the table and the evidence provided here.
When you say what happens to Mkhwanazi, she's of course now retired, Dr. Mkhwanazi. What could possibly happen in terms of accountability? Because she's retired, for one. There was, of course, the ventilation of the issue, among others, the issue of the improper appointment, the unlawful appointment, for that matter, of Brigadier Mkhwanazi, who will take the stand today. Just to that point alone, what could possibly happen?
What could possibly happen is, obviously, what she left inside should be corrected, like issues of vetting, issues what General Mkhwanazi is coming today to refute or claim or counter-argue and provide further evidence. But the Commission will have a responsibility to look into some of the decisions that were taken in her tenure. But should it be found that there are certain financial implications, I don't think the city's hands are tied to say, since she left, although she has caused this damage, then there's nothing that is going to happen to her. I'm sure they can explore other mechanisms. But as for the remaining or the repercussions of her decisions, that the city can still work on. Vetting, I'm sure vetting has started in certain instances. And again, verification of appointment, calling off a certain appointment and so forth, looking into some of the contracts she signed. Those can be terminated if they were found to have not followed the right procedure. But then her as an individual, I don't think she'll get away with murder to that extent. There's so much that can be explored by the city, particularly when there's evidence on the table, clear evidence that you took A, you left with it, then we can take it back or look at your decision. This is what has cost the city. Because, for example, if now IPIT report is that particular to say this person was not supposed to be left unattended, and then you decided otherwise, and also you approve 200,000 addition to one's scale, what do we do with that? Obviously, that has also need to be verified. Which processes justified that? If there's no procedure that was followed to justify or lack of a particular signature, that can be called off. Right.
All right, and we unfortunately are out of time, but literally in 30 seconds, what line of questioning do you think should be pursued with Brigadier Mkhwanazi today?
It would be a very difficult one. Because we're talking of the disposing of bodies, the evidence, then line of question, because he's there to say, okay, how were you appointed? Vetting. Why were you not vetted? Why were you not vetted?
Okay, I'm going to leave it there.
Why were you not vetted?
Those two questions.
As an officer, can you be in office without vetting?
Well, Evidently, you shouldn't be, but evidently you
Why
can
are you
be.
there? Why are you there?
It was allowed.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Professor Rakubu, and of course, looking forward to the line of questioning today for Brigadier Mkhwanazi, Julius Mkhwanazi, especially given the evidence that was already deposed of here at the Madlanga Commission, really damning as far as he is concerned. So really looking forward to what will come out of it today. It's back to you in studio, Leanne.